Listen up, if this works, it is going to be huge for gaming. What's going on is that Steam wants to revolutionize how you discover games. They are testing a new system that could kill traditional games marketing as we know it. You might be thinking, God, that's a lot. Why are they doing it now? And there's a very simple reason why. It's because the current system is goddamn broken. I mean, listen to what a recent indie publisher said. Quote, "Times have well and truly changed. Having a great game is still half the battle, but if you don't have the money to pay for success, you'll likely have problems." Now, what they're talking about here is needing massive piles of cash just for marketing. But here's the thing, right? That's not even working. There are as many cases of massive marketing budgets leading to just about nothing. And making this video, me and my team know that this is really important because you basically keep telling us. We often cover shit shows or games that just underperformed. And what happens in the comments is you guys say, wow, that looks really cool. It's a shame I never knew it existed. Well, the good news is Steam has noticed and they're about to change everything. Now, there's also a problem I've seen a dozen times and we're going to solve it for free. Basically, you need a website for a project, a side hustle, or even just a landing page, but the thought of wrestling with builders or hiring someone just kind of puts you off. Now, that's where today's sponsor, Odoo, comes in because they've genuinely impressed me. You see, they are an all-in-one management software for entrepreneurs, and that means invoicing, accounting, project management, inventory, the whole lot, including today's focus, their website builder, and it is properly quick. I mean, it's like 4 steps. Basically, you tell it your industry and your goals, you pick a color palette, or upload your logo, you add your pages, choose a theme, and boom, you have got a website structure ready to customize. And the customization is dead simple. You just drag and drop about the place. There's no code, no headaches. Every block just slides in wherever you want it, and everything is customizable. The text, the colors, the images, the animations, so you can make it look exactly how you want without needing to be a full-on developer or designer. But then Odoo gets even better because your first Odoo app is free for life. That includes unlimited hosting and support, plus a free custom domain for a year. And then, if you need more apps down the line, they are just $19.99 a month each for all of them. Yes, it is one price for everything that Odoo does. That's an absurdly good value for basically everything you would need to run your business. So, if you've been putting off building that site, simply head to my link to get started. They have made it so easy, so there's no excuse not to. Go check them out. We begin with a simple fact, which is that gaming is in a bit of a crisis right now. Traditional marketing tools are weaker than ever. Content creators need to be paid unless they're trying to hop on a trending game. Traditional press can barely do anything after all of the layoffs that they have faced as well. And, well, they just get forced to make SEO guide slop. There's a lot of problems, and this is all happening in a year with more games than ever before, even more great games than we've ever seen. And the brutal truth is, it does not matter how good your game is if nobody buys it, and that is where Steam is stepping in. And it's doing that in the form of a new test on Steam Labs. So here it is. They've built an 8-week calendar, and it's actually quite similar to what SteamDB already has. Now, the calendar shows you 3 things: games that released in the last month, games from the last 7 days, and most importantly, upcoming games organized by release day. Now, think about this problem. On any given day, Steam might release 100 or more games. So that's kind of not useful. Now, we actually try to solve this over on Loading Screen, which is our newsletter for members. You can check it out at the link below. And over there, every Monday, our members get curated weekly lists, which is all well and good, and it means a shitload to us, but it's obviously not an industry-wide solution, and that's why Valve is building something into their store. So, how is this any different to, say, you just scrolling the popular upcoming list? Well, remember, we're talking about Valve here. If they can't put an algorithm on it, why build it? So what they've done is they've personalized it, where every day the calendar refreshes with new data. It looks at games that you play a lot, then it finds games that similar people have wishlisted, and then it shows you those games. And just like the rest of the store, it filters out stuff that you don't want. That could be early access games, mature content, even ignored tags. You can do all of that to customize this calendar to actually be useful to you. And that means you can see anywhere from 10 to 500 games on one screen. And you can also filter it by tags. As an example, let's say you loved Hades 2 and you want to see all of the recent and upcoming roguelikes. Well, now they're in a visual date-based format, not just a list. Now, what is Steam hoping to achieve here? I think it's pretty simple. What they want is to surface new games that you don't know about. And along with that, they are cutting out the marketing middleman. Yeah, the marketing middleman. Let's talk about how it actually works, because we've got some specific figures from a recent successful game, one that was especially successful on PC, and it's actually the publisher quote that I started off this video with. Here's the game. It's called Little Rocket Lab. Basically just think Factorio meets Stardew Valley. And the good news is, it did pretty well. The publisher, No More Robots, was happy. The developer, Teenage Astronauts, were also happy. Now, Mike Rose, who runs No More Robots, reported around 80,000 players within 3 days. And for the purposes of this video, our question is, well, how did those players even get there? And the answer is shitloads of middlemen. Basically, No More Robots seems to be one of the good publishers out there. They very actively promote and support their developers. They don't just, fund them, see whatever works, and just demand a cut. So yes, they're a publisher. They are a form of middleman, but, they do actually help you navigate all the other middlemen. Here's where it gets interesting, you see. Mike Rose explained their reveal strategy for this game, and it's this. A wholesome direct that generated 8,000 wish lists. Very good start. It also helps that they had a Game Pass deal. This meant that the game could, quote, recoup all of its costs within a single week after launch. Now, if you don't have, say, a relationship with Xbox, you're probably not going to be getting yourself that Game Pass deal. But getting back to the story, another factor is that the game was obviously really good. And part of the reason why is loads of publisher-backed play testing. So that's all great stuff, but it's actually not what Rose credits for the success of the game. And that's because one of the things they did was a first for the company, and it actually worked. And that thing was putting loads of money into adverts and influencers. I mean, fair to say that we maybe would have a horse in that race. Mr. Rose, you could take out an ad spot one of our videos if you really want to. But anyway, he says that they spent 50 grand total, and they did a big burst of spend around Steam Next Fest. And then they basically did a bigger burst in the weeks leading up to the launch. Then on launch day, they used ads to make sure that everybody saw the game. Now, I want you to think about that number, the 50 grand. They paid the equivalent of multiple yearly minimum wage salaries just to market the game. Not to make the game, just to market it. And this is probably why Mike Rose finished his post-mortem with this idea. Quote, having a great game is still half the battle, but if you don't have the money to pay for success, you'll likely have problems. And here's the darkest part with it. No More Robots probably still got lucky, because unless you're using sponsor codes, tracking the impact of influencer marketing is incredibly hard. You can easily spend money for zero return. That lack of transparency is a problem. That's one that isn't there as much with regular ads, which can be targeted in an incredibly specific way. When I say that, I mean down to the granularity of, say, particular subreddits. Plus, it's also something that grows exponentially with your budget, where the larger your game is, the more money you're going to need to spend. I mean, take a look at some of these numbers. Scopely spent $1 billion on Monopoly Go marketing. Billion, a casual bill. Cyberpunk 2077 spent $142 million, which is 2/3 of the development budget. And even back in 2009, Modern Warfare 2 had $150 million for marketing. The development? That was just $50 million. In an ideal world, sure, they'd put $200 million into just the game, and it would be so good that it would just sell naturally. But that's not the world that we live in. And remember, in some ways, this is a bit of a zero-sum game, where marketing costs are spent to take players' attention from everything else. Because whenever you pay for an advert, you're competing with the other people who could be, paying for that advert. So that's the bit that sucks, that there are some zero-sum dynamics because people have only got so much attention. Obviously, big viral moments and shadow drops also factor in here. Like, say, if Silksong just happened to drop in the launch window of your game. In that case, many indies just changed when their game was launching. But the thing to remember is that all of this effort is just in the hopes that your game gets inside people's heads. It's to drive them towards making a purchase whenever they reach the store. And here's the key difference, right, between overall what's going on and Steam's plan. Current marketing tries to go out into the world and find players wherever they happen to be. But Steam's new plan, well, it gets people where they already are. And it turns Steam into something that you can browse recreationally, that you can browse to find new games. I mean, you know how people may as well just pay a few quid a month so they can kill their time browsing the Netflix library, never actually watching anything. And what it also does for Valve is ensure their platform is essential at every step of development. Steam is big. It practically has a monopoly on PC game sales, but marketing a game on PC is actually hard. Marketing on Steam is also extremely hard. There is essentially no real way to reach new players outside of the likes of Steam Next Fest. You see, devs can't purchase ads on Steam, and recent reports even suggested something quite bad. That even if players wishlist your game, that it doesn't guarantee launch sales. Now, obviously, yeah, of course, it's not like wishlisting something's a legally binding agreement, but what has happened is the ratio of wish lists to purchases has actually went down over time. And this does actually matter. As we covered before, devs need enough interest at launch, because without it, they're basically siloed off from players. You basically need the biggest day one that you can possibly get. That means hitting certain thresholds for reviews and things that will help you with the Steam algorithm. The challenge is, if people don't know your game exists, it's quite hard to do that. And the only way to reach new players after your launch is, well, external marketing, which is going to be happening outside of Steam. And that is, I think, why Steam wants to do more for smaller developers at the launch of their games. This is basically Valve trying to develop a system that will counteract some of the things that we've been constantly talking about on this channel for years. They're massively hindering the indie games market. Though they're obviously not doing this just out of the goodness of their heart. They do have their 30% cut, and developers can get far better cuts on other storefronts. But what I would say is that if they're building systems like this, and they are doing things that help your game get discovered, that actually get you more sales, then that is Valve earning their 30% cut. So this is good news, but it's not perfect. There are still some obvious problems that could hurt devs. Like, to get into the system, players need to add games to their wish list. And that would mean the developers still will be needing showcases and marketing to get started. And obviously, Steam's algorithms are not perfect. Right now, Steam faces criticism for some of its basic recommendations. They do things like suggest other games in the same franchises. So sure, if you like roguelikes, you'll get more roguelikes. But that actually can be self-reinforcing in a way that's a little bit tricky, because, well, it doesn't really allow for novelty that much, does it? Like, what happens if you just get railroaded into your existing habits? It could make it harder for you to know about other games that you very well may enjoy. So as much as the algorithmic is good, we also do need some more of the subjective. And you could argue the curator system exists to fix that. But we all know the curator system is basically worthless. But at the very least, this is another tool in the belts of developers, which does actually mean, well, there's yet another Steam system for developers to understand. And it does increase Steam's importance as a platform. It does further us being quite locked into Steam. That's something that I do think represents a little bit of systemic risk. It's just we're so goddamn lucky that compared to so many of the other companies out there, Valve are pretty much one of the good ones. And, well, they may not be in some people's good books if they, thought that investing in CSGO skins was better than investing in regulated securitized assets. But maybe that's a story for another video. Point, though, is Valve does not want you going anywhere else to buy games. That's why they want to make Steam the best thing that they possibly can. That's good. And look, the Ubisoft app, EA's Origin app, all of those things, they get very annoying. And it was fun to look at all the companies come crawling back to Steam. Because Steam, it's our platform. Valve are our guys. But as much as that does, emotionally feel good, if we want to think about the long-term health of the games industry on PC, we should be thinking about how realistically Valve could be competed against. And that is why I'd love you to leave in the comments, what bits of Steam piss you off? What do you think another company, or maybe even Valve themselves, could do better? Ultimately then, today's story is about buying new games, and Valve's calendar choice is quite telling here, where it's all about new games from this month, games from this week, upcoming games that are tailored to your interests. It's less about hidden gems or old games, and for good reason. Like you guys have been telling us all year, you don't know about new games whenever they come out, and that means you're not even getting the chance to buy them. They're just getting absorbed into the background radiation of Steam. And that serves nobody, not even Valve. Developers don't get enough sales to survive. They can't work on their next project. Guess what that means? There's no new game to be published on Steam. And you may even miss a piece of art that could define this year of your life because it's that good. So, are there flaws of the system? Yeah, there are a few, but I think it's absolutely worth it. This is brilliant. I hope Valve does more. Actually, GG, more of this shit. Do let us know in the comments how you think Steam could be made better. And speaking of a company trying to make something better, very much on Steam, there's the whole situation with Payday 2. Honestly, it's kind of insane, and it might even be a good trend, so you should probably know about it.